All right, folks, how we doing? We're going to talk about the journey we've taken so far. You're about 4 weeks into school. It started more or less with this, solving our design problem. We had certain pieces of clay we had to work with. You went through a whole design process. You thought about it. You were critical of what the things were that you made. You may or may not have decided to save those things, but either way, you solved a design problem very early on. Then we talked about design principles. You also looked at these. Each table had a design principle. Each table presented and taught their own design principle. So now we have an idea what makes up art pieces and how to balance them, how to show movement, how to show emphasis, etc. Then we got into how do we draw a little bit? We draw basic forms. We try to show shading light to dark. We even talked about how this pertains to our iPhone photos, our selfies. How do I add more contrast to this? Most of us don't want our pictures to be washed out. That involves darks and lights. Same thing with our drawing. We want to mimic 3D on a 2D surface. So we covered this. Then we looked at how do we get creative with food items in our pantry. We talked about Claes Oldenburg. You did question sheets on Claes Oldenburg. You looked at his artwork. You can also find his website in Schoology below this film in the thread. So we did our 9. We pictured this like if I'm viewing inside my refrigerator. What items can I stack up? 9 different ways. Then, again, we moved through creative process with recyclables. We had a bunch of recyclables to physically stack them up, use clay to make them juxtapose a little differently, and did 4 drawings of these. Again, creative process, things that help us develop ideas. We also talked about how the creative process works. And there's a better picture of this in Schoology also. So we talked about moving through creative process, how it works, and we've already moved through that process. We talked about creativity levels and understanding that you can increase your creative fitness by moving through these levels and consciously applying these ideas to your work and your original ideas. We don't want to work with the first ideas we have. We want to move through these creativity levels. So we can, in some ways it's subjective, but it's very quantifiable here. This is what it looks like. This is how I can change and improve my creative ideas. We talked about glazing. You basically started with your food list, your food drawings. That's how I gain ideas, some visual vocabulary. If I don't know anything about music, I need to listen to different types of music, decide what I like. Here, we created small items, then we went all the way through the glazing process to understand those items. We also looked at the periodic table from your chemistry or science class and understand that these glazes and these glaze materials come directly from your periodic table. So does your clay. So, we talked about documenting, and I've continued to talk about documenting everything. Understanding what glaze numbers you use so that you can find them again. Taking pictures of your work, snapping those artwork selfies so I can find my work. Mr. T, where's this? Instead of Mr. T, I made something and I can't find it. Now we're getting into understanding what I can create and showing that in our sketchbook. So I have items that will stack up. I'm starting with food items. I'm trying to be more creative with how I position them, how I use my design principles. I might be enlarging them. I might be using tracing paper to help place them and move them around like rudimentary Photoshop. Let's call it physical Photoshop. So I'm thinking after we've developed all those compositions, you're going to do one composition now that you feel like you can translate into a small model, just like Claes Oldenburg, and then into a larger model. We also discussed, hey, Mr. T, I don't really like food that much, but I'm into cars and stuff. I do a little search. I'm into cars and broccoli, Lamborghinis, broccoli, and milk. I'm going to try and put these things together and figure out what that will look like so I can bring myself into this. I can turn it this way if I wanted to. I could even turn it upside down if I wanted to. I don't have to use the wheels in the car. I just kind of want the frame. I want it to be like a broken car I pulled the frame off of. I want to use color so I can figure out and think all the way to the end what these glazes will look like and experiment with that. I'm also thinking about creativity. Let's say this is my coffee idea. I'm doing creative coffee. I'm adding a font that might be fun. I'm adding designs in, and I'm juxtaposing those to create balance. I'm adding movement and balance, pattern design, size and scale. I'm enlarging these coffee beans, fonts, pattern design. So I'm moving through this creative process and I'm proving that I'm moving through levels of creativity. So basically my goal, your goal for me, is not to do what I want, but to prove you're moving to higher levels of creativity. You've come a long way this semester, you've learned a lot, and we've all worked really hard to get to this place. Now we're going to create ideas, then models, then larger sculptures. So model, then larger sculptures, just like Claes Oldenburg. You're going to make Claes Oldenburg proud. Thank you.